Welcome back to the show. Commanders win on a prayer from Jayden Daniels in a battle, quotations, air quotes, of two rookie quarterbacks.
Wow.
Lots going wrong here, including Tyreek Stevenson more interested in the fans than the ball until he gets too interested in the ball and tips it to Noah Brown. That ends the game. Now, after the game, he took to Twitter and said to Chicago and teammates, my apologies, lack of awareness and focus. Game's not over till the zeros. I can't take anything for granted. Notes taken, improvement will happen. So that's good.
It's after skipping out on the media and getting a personal foul earlier in the game and general clown-like behavior.
Yikes.
I mean, it was. I mean, he didn't talk to them. I mean, it was ludicrous what happened, and it was the single most important play of this NFL season.
Just strategically,
And he was
not talking to the media is a savvy move there.
Okay,
he was doing the same thing on the play before, where they allowed the out pattern to get close enough for the Hail Mary. He was doing the same thing.
Right, your biggest takeaway here.
Listen, great job by Jayden. Jayden has a broken rib or bruised rib or something, and
because he's so slight.
Yes, correct. That's exactly right, Coach.
He can't play through pain.
He's more likely to get hurt. But if you are more likely to get hurt, seeing that you can play through pain is important.
Yeah.
And he was. I mean, Washington moved the ball up and down the field, but had to keep settling for field goals. And then they were going to lose. I mean, and now they would have been tied with Philly in a dogfight, and the Bears would have been in great shape. Now the Bears are in last place. They're a game clear, and it's because of that play. Because the story could have been that despite we can show you, we can show the play, but also since Wilds wants to make this, the Caleb trash hour, since Trevor's not in the discussion right now. He played very, very poorly and nervous for the bulk of this game, and then the final two drives was excellent. Yeah. One drive, they should have taken the lead, but they were like, hey, let's hand the ball off to our backup center. And then the next drive, they did score, and that would have been the story. And it would have been a real Rookie of the Year race, even though the stats would have been different because of what happened. But instead, they lose an unforgivable loss, just an unforgivable loss. Jayden deserves a ton of credit.
It's pretty great that they play the whole game, huh?
Yeah.
Not just those drives where he has bad.
Yeah, well,
that's pretty good the way that works out. And the thing that's been so good about Jayden Daniels, is similar to C.J. Stroud, is he's changed the whole complexion of the organization. Yep. When you've got a young player like that, that's not only talented but has that type of work ethic, maturity, who gets an injury, figures out a way to practice on Friday, and then play, and then create a play like that. It's really transformative for an organization, just like we saw it transform Houston last year with CJ. And Caleb is in the process of trying to do the same thing in Chicago. I just think the impact right now that Jayden's had, not just with ability, but with his attitude and work ethic, and the plays like this could change the whole trajectory of the season for him.
Yeah, look, there's a sizable gap right now between Jayden and Caleb. Right now. I mean, we'll see if it continues because Caleb had been playing well. But yesterday, for the most part, he had about 34 yards
prior to the variant.
Yeah, through the first three quarters. Jayden hasn't had a bad game yet. A bad game. He hasn't always played great, but he has yet to have a bad game. There's something special about him. And that play, I would just say for Tyreek Stevenson, to me, this should be a lesson for a lot of players. Guys celebrate way too much. All right, I get celebrating the touchdown. I don't even mind the defensive, running down the other side of the end zone and celebrating, even though that's getting a little tired.
All right, well, we don't have to talk about that play because who cares? Don't try to make it that be about it. This is for Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. I'll tell you right now, what Jayden Daniels has brought to the Commanders is more what Patrick Mahomes has brought to the Kansas City Chiefs than the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. I get the comparison because the Texans were kind of struggling and all that, just like the Commanders, whereas the Chiefs were not struggling as much. They already had Andy Reid. They already had Alex Smith lead them to the playoffs and whatnot, and even get a playoff win if memory serves me correctly. So I get that. Like the gap was bigger with C.J. Stroud and the Texans, similar to that with the Washington Commanders. But there is true bona fide hope and belief in what Jayden Daniels can do. And it is funny because I know so many Commanders fans could not wait for this clip. And it was a struggle for Nick Wright, right? Like, he just was like, yep, he played great. And then he went to Caleb Williams' numbers for the last 2 drives or whatever. And it's like, then that's why Mangini's like, well, good thing we played the whole game. And it's always so silly to me when people want to say, well, what about these 3 drives? They looked great. And if it wasn't for these other 4 drives that they didn't look so great, like, you play full quarters, right? You play 4 full quarters, okay? That's how the game is played. And here's the reality, is that Jayden Daniels has never looked uncomfortable. Not once. Not once. I understand he hasn't played every single game top level, great, flawless, perfectly, right? And that's just not possible. But he's never looked uncomfortable. He is so composed. Whereas Caleb, on the other hand, has genuinely looked lost at times. Now, I think Caleb Williams is getting more confident and more comfortable in his own skin, so to speak, right? Like, he's less panicked. And I even wrote that even in this game, he was uncomfortable, but he still stayed composed. But he was still failing at his own hands at that time as well. He was making bad plays. He was composed in those bad plays, right? Which again, that's why you kind of like have to understand what I'm saying here. Like, there's a difference between being uncomfortable, being not confident, being not composed. Like, these words, there's a lot of overlap, but they can mean similar and be different things. So what I see with Jayden Daniels is that he's never uncomfortable. Even when the game is trying to make him uncomfortable, he's always composed. I've never seen him not composed, and I've never seen him not confident. Right? I mean, to me, that's what's remarkable. And I pointed this out in my last video about him when he, I almost said when he won the Super Bowl. Maybe I'm predicting the future. When he, after the Hail Mary and he got interviewed, that was the time, right? Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's going nuts. You're at home. Fans are going insane. The team is going insane. Your head coach, Dan Quinn, is going insane and screaming and running and cheering and hugging and throwing in. And he gets interviewed. And the bro is just immediately just straight chilling. I mean, he's just so calm, cool, and collected. I just want to shake him and be like, oh my God, look what just happened. Like, are you serious? That was wild. And it was a prayer, a Hail Mary, but he made it happen. He extended that play for like 12, 13 seconds and threw a strike with that injured rib because he's so weak and feeble and skinny, right? The guy threw the ball like 65 yards in the air. I mean, but he's just so weak, and he was still laying his body out there, which I also want to shake him and be like, please stop doing that, Jayden. Please stop doing that. But even the plays that don't work out for him are great, right? Like, he had this insane scramble throw. It ended up not being a touchdown, but it was a perfect play with a perfect throw. They just had one foot, right? Like, even his plays that don't work out are special. And as Romo put it, the game is slow for Jayden Daniels, right? And he's able to move defenders in zone coverage better than anyone else. And it's just remarkable to be able to do that at this point, in his very early young NFL career. But that's the thing. The game moves slow for Jayden. It seemingly moves fast for Caleb. Caleb will be a great quarterback. I do believe that. But you can see the frazzle. When Jayden Daniels is moving quick and using his legs, it's done not in a panicked way. It's done in a way, and if you've ever seen some sort of a movie where someone can run really fast, like superhuman fast, like in X-Men or Marvel or whatever, The Flash, I don't know, whatever movies you guys see, right? The way how they show it on in movies and TV is that everyone else is moving so slow, right? And so it's like they're moving really fast, but they're moving so fast that like everyone else is moving so slow. That's what it looks like Jayden Daniels does when he moves around. Whether it's a scramble, whether it's for him to rip off a run, whether it's for him to just kind of buy some time in the pocket and throw, that's what it feels like to me, right? Everyone else is moving in slow motion, and he's moving fast. Whereas you compare that to a Caleb Williams, and it just feels frazzled. Caleb can find a way out of it because he will be a great player and is a really good player already at this point. But it's so much more frantic and frazzled. It's like the house is on fire, and it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I gotta get my dog, I gotta get my kids, I gotta get my brother, I gotta get my mom, oh my God, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? Whereas Jayden is like, everything's on fire. All right, I'm going to go get my mom. Let me run upstairs. Let me grab my mom, throw over my shoulder. Oh, got to get my dog, throw my dog over my shoulder. Do I have time to get my laptop? Yeah, I can grab my laptop, I guess. I'll put it over here. Like, it's just different levels of composure, quite frankly. And it jumps off the screen for me. It absolutely fundamentally jumps off the screen. And I'm not going to partake in a trash hour for Caleb Williams, right? Because I don't have a strong desire to do that. Because like I said, I think Caleb Williams will be great. And I'm excited for this rivalry to kind of go back and forth. But I know a lot of Washington Commanders fans took issue with not only what Nick Wright was saying, but other people in the media were saying. So this also isn't a trash hour on Nick Wright, but also what a lot of Chicago Bears fans were saying. Like they were calling him a running back and just nonsense, right? Honestly, just nonsense. And right when he's got that 3rd and 9 dime to McLaurin for 61 yards for career long. I wrote down immediately vengeance for some of the Bears fans who kept calling Jayden Daniels a running back, because it's just like, you know who was running all day? Caleb Williams is the one that was really relying on his legs, because his arm, he had 36 yards for the first 3 quarters, and he was wildly inaccurate. We could blame some of the issues for the Bears, which I will talk about in a different video. But there was guys that were open that he was just straight up missing and throwing inaccurately. So you can't just blame like, oh, the O-line and all of this. And you have to give credit to the Commanders' defense. The Commanders' defense played great start to finish. You know, I mean, I think the play calling was great. Right? Jayden Daniels at one time, right, he had hands in his face, 3rd and 8, and it was right after the touchdown was called back because of a flag, and it was the pass to Ertz. I mean, it was just a veteran, big-time throw. The Bears were ready to rip momentum back. The heart was taken out of the Commanders because, like, they had the touchdown, let's go. And then just to be able to step up, make that throw, practicing for a day, right? I mean, like, everything was stacked against Jayden Daniels and the Commanders. Everything. And yet they still found a way. This was just such a resilient win. And the other thing that I also want to point out, which I also pointed out in my Herd video, because it's so important to me, is I forget who the ball was thrown to, where he caught it, but there was some question: did he catch it? Did he not? And they were going to maybe challenge it. And to see the Commanders and Jayden Daniels hurry up, get to the line, get the playoff, cannot be understated. It cannot be understated, because we see time and time again, it literally happened in the Eagles versus Bengals game, where then there was a flag, they were trying to hurry up before the challenge got out, and then there was a false start. To have the Commanders be able to do that, right, with a rookie quarterback, Jayden Daniels, an intense environment, a game that matters to both of these teams, both these quarterbacks, to not only get the playoff, right, before any challenge, I know the challenge wouldn't have mattered, but to still be able to get the playoff and get positive yardage, and not get some sort of dumb penalty, whatever it may be, is so impressive to me. To be able to do that before you've ever even played 10 games in the NFL, in a close game, in a gotta have it first down, because if, let's say, the ball did hit the ground and that was challenged, that's a devastating play at that point. It's a devastating to not be able to get the playoff, or, you know, or to then maybe there wasn't, the challenge wasn't going to go through, but now you get a false start and now you go back 5 yards. Like, all of those things are devastating in that moment of the game, right? You're talking about crucial, important moments of the game. So again, that's why you can't just look at stats, because Nick wants to point out the stats of, the final 2 drives of Caleb, which were absolutely impressive. But point out some of these other things that don't show up in the box score, right? Don't point out some of those things. I just think it was really a remarkable win, even though it wasn't perfect, which is what makes it more remarkable to me, because this wasn't a beautiful win. It's easy when you're rolling to stack up points against the Cardinals, the Browns, whoever, right? These are the hard games. This is why you pay a quarterback $200 million, to win you these types of games, right? To stay composed and not panicked when the moment calls for it. So, but yeah, obviously some luck. Yeah, I have to say, right? There was absolutely some luck involved, right? And some bad decision making by the Chicago Bears. No question about it, right? No question about it. That also should not be understated, but it doesn't have to be the entire story. And the reality is Jayden Daniels played better than Caleb Williams. 21 for 38, 326 yards, 8.6 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 92.7 rating, 8 carries for 52 rushing. Now, even if we want to remove like the 50, 60 yards, whatever the final actual yardage were, Caleb was still outdueled by Jayden Daniels, right? Take away a completion, take away attempt, his rating would still be very similar, a little bit lower, and his yards per attempt would be slightly lower, and his passing yards would be like 270 or 260, whatever the final number was. It's still all more than Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was 10 for 24, 131 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt, a 59 rating, and 10 carries for 41 rushing. So Jayden Daniels did everything better than Caleb Williams today, or Sunday. Everything better. That's just the reality. And that's why what Brew is saying, he is just a clearly better quarterback right now. It's not to say that's going to continue the season. It's not to say that it's going to continue throughout their careers. I'm only talking about today. That's all I care about right now. Jayden Daniels played great. And the reality is that Caleb Williams was supposed to play better. Caleb Williams is the one who's supposed to have all these weapons. Right, he's supposed to have, look what Shane Waldron did in Seattle. Look at all of the weapons they have. Look at the wide receivers that they have, right? Like, they're the ones that Nick Wright said is going to the Super Bowl. That this team is going to the Super Bowl. If you had to look at two teams right now, if you were looking at the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders, and you didn't know anything about the past games, and you don't know anything about the future, you have no idea where these quarterbacks were drafted, what it means, anything about it, and you just looked at these two teams, and you said, which team is more likely to go to the Super Bowl? Which team has the better quarterback right now? Which quarterback will have a better career right now? Who do you think? The answer is an undeniable, unquestionable Washington Commanders and Jayden Daniels. Facts are facts. Just the way it goes. Just the way it goes. Caleb Williams is trying to compete for Rookie of the Year. Jayden Daniels is trying to compete for the MVP. Make no mistake about it. But those are just my thoughts. Ooh, we cooked there. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.